So what's 2b going to be? 4, right? If b is 2, then 2b is going to be 4. Is everybody with me? Leah, don't zone, girl. Okay? Pi over 4. Is everybody there? Yes? So then your asymptotes are going to be at pi over 4, an odd multiple of it. So the next one would be, hello? 3 pi over 4. You know that the distance between these two guys has got to be your period. Okay? So let's kind of sketch this out, okay? So your horizontal line, here's your 0. Your first asymptote is going to be at pi over 4 on this side. Okay? And on the other side, it's going to be at, negative pi over 4. It's completely symmetric in that sense. Okay? So it's going to be at negative pi over 4. Okay? And what's tangent of 0? So when x is 0, what's tangent 0? 0. Okay? Then what you do is you take the halfway point between these two guys. What's the halfway point between there? Pi over 8. That's going to go through 1. It's going to go through 1. Guys with me on that? Okay. What's the halfway point in here? Negative pi over 8. Nice, awesome. And it's going to go through negative 1. Okay. So your graph should look like this. Okay, didn't draw the asymptotes very nicely. You guys get the idea? So what you want to do is, and like I'm saying, that we're not going to do a phase shift, so we're always going to be around a 0. We're going to be around a 0. Okay? So you put one asymptote on one side, the other asymptote on the other side, and then you find the midpoint between 0 and the asymptotes. Okay, and those points will go through 1. Guys with me on this? Yeah? Guys okay? Shall I give you another example for you to try your hands on, okay? The next one would be the same thing. It would be like this. So this point here, okay, you know that the asymptote is going to be, so your center point is going to be exactly pi over 2 from there. Because your period is pi over 2, right? Right? So this point comes here, and this is going to be pi over 2. Okay? So let me give you an example to work on, okay? Not too difficult, okay? So we're going to just change it to y equals tangent 3x, okay? So I want you to work on that. And then for the cotangent, I'll make a YouTube on that in my prep and then put it up on the web tonight later. All right, so I want to continue on graphing by hand the tangent function and look at a little bit more involved problem to graph by hand, okay? So what we did in the class was fairly straightforward. So the example we want to do is graph by hand y equals 1/2 tangent 2x, okay? Then I'm going to build the whole process just like we did for sine and cosine earlier. So this is stuff that I didn't quite cover in class, so if you see the YouTube, well, you've got it down. Okay, so I want to go back to the mother tangent function, okay? And I want to kind of focus on this part of the graph, okay? So if you look at it, okay, I need to clear graph. I want to really focus on this part of the graph, okay? So one asymptote is at negative pi over 2, and the other asymptote is at pi over 2. So the left one's at negative pi over 2, the right is pi over 2. So that's the fundamental concept that we're going to use in graphing any tangent function without a phase shift. So what we do is we start out by setting 2x, that's that guy, okay, to minus pi over 2. You solve for x, and you get minus pi over 4. So that'll be our left point. Very similar to what we did in sine and cosine, where we had starting and ending, okay? So for the tangent function, we are actually looking at where the asymptotes are going to be. So here's my left asymptote, okay? And then for the right-hand side, if you go back to your mother function, notice that your right asymptote is at pi over 2. Okay, excuse me, it's at pi over 2. So you set that to pi over 2. Just like we did in sine and cosine, where we set the starting to 0 and the ending to 2 pi. For tangent, we set for the left boundary, we set it as negative pi over 2. For the right, we set it at pi over 2, and that gives us the right boundary, pi over 4. Okay, so let's go bring up a notepad here. Okay, and so our left asymptote is going to be at negative pi over 4, and the right one's going to be at pi over 4. Okay, I still don't know how to control the sticky. Okay, so let's go put our things down. Okay, here's my x-axis, here's my y-axis. My right boundary is at pi over 4. My left boundary is at negative pi over 4. So this is where my asymptotes are going to be, right there. Okay, this is where my asymptotes are going to be. Okay, and then if you look at the notes here, it tells you the x-intercept is the average of x left and x right. So in other words, the graph is going to go between the average of minus pi over 4 and pi over 4, which is 0. Right there. Okay. The next thing we need to do is, like I mentioned in class, is to take the halfway point between here and here. So the halfway point in here is going to be at pi over 8. And if I look at my graph, okay, what I want to graph is 1/2 tangent to x. So now my point is going to be, instead of 1, it's going to be at a half. So this is going to be 1/2. Okay, because the function that I'm graphing is 2